Check one.
Try that. That'll
Check,
work.
check, check.
And all the people saw the thunderings and the lightnings and the noise of the trumpet and the mountain smoking. And when Exodus 20. Alright, Exodus 20 and 1. And the Most High spake unto Moses, saying, I am the Most High thy power, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image.
Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image.
Or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above.
Or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above.
Or that is in the earth beneath.
Or that is in the earth beneath.
Or that is in the water under the earth.
Or that is in the water under the earth.
Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them.
Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them.
For I hide them power, my jealous power, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of a high thy power in vain.
Thou shalt not take the name of a high thy power in vain.
For I will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain.
For I will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain.
Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy.
Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy.
6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work.
6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work.
But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Most High, in it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days I have made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Most High blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother.
Honor thy father and thy mother.
That thy days may be long upon the land which the Most High thy power giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill.
Thou shalt not kill.
Thou shalt not commit adultery.
Thou shalt not commit adultery.
Thou shalt not steal.
Thou shalt not steal.
Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor.
Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor.
Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house.
Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house.
Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife,
Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife.
nor his manservant, nor his maidservant,
Nor his manservant, nor his maidservant.
nor his ox, nor his ass,
Nor his ox, nor his ass.
nor anything that is thy neighbor.
Or anything that is thy neighbor's.
And all the people saw the thunderings and the lightnings and the noise of the trumpet and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, they removed and stood afar off. And they said unto Moses, Speak thou with us, we will hear, but let not a higher speak with us, lest we die. And Moses said unto the people, Fear not, for a high has come to prove you, and that his fear may be before your faces, that ye sin not. And the people stood afar off, and Moses drew near unto the thick darkness where High was. And the Most High said unto Moses, Thus thou shalt say unto the children of Israel, Ye have seen that I have talked with you from heaven. You shall not make with me gods of silver, neither shall ye make unto you gods of gold. An altar of earth thou shalt make unto me, and shalt sacrifice thereon thy burnt offerings and thy peace offerings, thy sheep and thine oxen. In all places where I will call my name, I will come unto thee, and I will bless thee. And if thou wilt make me an altar of stone, thou shalt not build it of hewn stone. But if thou lift up thy tool upon it, thou hast polluted it. Neither shalt thou go up by steps into mine altar, that thy nakedness be not discovered thereon. All right, got our readers here. Okay. All right, we're going to start with Numbers, the 14th chapter, first verse.
Shalom, Brother Gocc, son of Judah, son of Israel. Numbers, chapter 14, verse 1. And all the congregation lifted up their voice and cried, and the people wept that night. And all the children of Israel murmured against Moses and against Aaron. And the whole congregation said unto them, Would the Most High Would the Most High that we would die in the land of Egypt, or would the Most High we had died in the wilderness? And wherefore has the Lord brought us unto this land to fall by the sword, that our wives and our children should be a prey? Were it not better for us to return into Egypt? And they said one to another, let us make a captain, and let us return into Egypt. Then Moses and Aaron fell on their faces before all the assembly of the congregation of the children of Israel.
Shabbat Shalom, family. Atazawan Makad, tribe of Judah, nation of Israel. Looking off at verse 6. And Joshua the son of Nun, and Caleb the son of Yephaniah, which were off them that searched the land, rent their clothes, and they spake unto all the company of the children of Israel, saying, the land which we passed through to search it, it is exceeding good land. If the Most High delight in us, then he will bring us into this land and give it us a land which floweth with milk and honey. Verse 9. Only rebel not ye against the Lord the Most High, neither fear ye the people of the land, for they are bread for us. Their defense is departed from them, and the Lord the Most High is with us. Fear them not. But all the congregation bade stone them with stones, and the glory of the Most High appeared in the tabernacle of the congregation before all the children of Israel.
Shalom, family. Aknasa Yasha, Ban Yehowadah, Ban Israel. And the Most High said unto Moses, how long will this people provoke me? And how long will it be ere they believe me for all the signs which I have shewed among them? I will smite them with the pestilence and disinherit them, and will make of thee a greater nation and mightier than they. And Moses said unto the Most High, then the Egyptians shall hear it, for thou broughtest up this people in thy might from among them. And they will tell it to the inhabitants of this land, for they have heard that thou, the Most High, art among this people, and that the Most High art seen face to face, and that thy cloud standeth over them, and that thou goest before them by daytime in a pillar of a cloud, and in a pillar of fire by night. Now if thou shalt kill all this people as one man, then the nations which have heard the fame of thee will speak, saying,
Brother Adam, we're going to start at 16. I ran out of white, sorry. All right. Okay, because the Lord was not able to bring this people into the land which he swore to them, therefore he has slain them in the wilderness. 17, and now I beseech thee, let the power of my Lord be great, according as thou hast spoken, saying, the Lord is long-suffering and of great mercies, forgiving iniquities and transgressions, and by no means clearing the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation. Pardon, I beseech thee, the iniquity of this people, according unto thy greatness of thy mercy, and as thou hast forgiven this people from Egypt even until now. And the Most High said, I have pardoned according to thy word.
Shalom, family. Brother Durrell, Israel, tribe of Judah. This is Numbers 14 and 21. But as truly as I live, all the earth shall be filled with the glory of the Lord. Because all these men which have seen my glory and my miracles, which I did in Egypt and in the wilderness, and have tempted me now, these 10 times, and have not hearkened to my voice, surely they shall not see the land which I swear unto their fathers. Neither shall any of them that provoke me see it. But my servant Caleb, because he had another spirit with him, and had followed me fully, him will I bring into the land whereunto he went, and his seed shall possess it. Now the Amalekites and the Canaanites dwell in the valley. Tomorrow turn you and get you in the wilderness by the way of the Red Sea.
Shabbat Shalom. Brother Kayal, house of Israel, tribe of Judah. Verse 26. And the Most High spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying, How long shall I bear with this evil congregation, which murmur against me? I have heard the murmurings of the children of Israel, which they murmur against me. Say unto them, As truly as I live, saith the Most High, as we have spoken in mine ears, so will I do to you. Your carcasses shall fall in this wilderness, and all that were numbered of you, according to your whole number, from 20 years old and upward, which have murmured against me. Doubtless ye shall not come into the land, concerning which I swear to make you dwell therein, save Caleb the son of Jephunneh, and Joshua the son of Nun.
Brother Abimelech, tribe of Judah, house of Israel. Verse 31. But your little ones, which ye said should be a prey, then will I bring in, and they shall know the land which ye have despised. Sorry. But as for you, your carcass, and they shall fall in the wilderness, and your children shall wander in the wilderness 40 years, and bear your portable until your carcass be wasted in the wilderness. After the number of the days in which ye search the land, even 40 days, each day of the year, ye shall bear your iniquities, even 40 years, and ye shall know my richer promise. I the Lord have said, I will surely do unto them, I will surely do unto all the evil congregation that are gathered together against me. In the wilderness they shall be consumed, and they shall die.
All right, choir, come forward there. Okay, thank you, sir.
jail, single cell like in a beaver. Strategy of the eagle, keep you in stew amigos off the tequila. Margaritas, waking up with ambition. But look at what we face. Getting this split gon' change a little bit in my situation. Don't gotta be high-minded, cause it's the nation. Told us form of greatness. Don't matter if they doubt me. Long as I got a sound mind and my wits about me. Hardwired to the scripture, I'm never rerouted. Can't stop it till the battle is over. Out of the tongue, keep the thoughts kosher. There are better ways of closure. Yeah, you ain't gotta be a smoker. Yeah, let the Holy Spirit coach you.
High delight in us, then he will bring us into this land and give it us, a land which floweth with milk and honey. Only rebel not ye against the Most High, neither fear ye the people of the land, for they are bread for us. Their defense is departed from them, and the Most High is with us. Fear them not. Now, mind you, we were going into a land where you had Nephilim and everything going on. Serious strongholds built by, the children of so-called gods, right? It says, but all the congregation bade stone them with stones, and the glory of the Most High appeared in the tabernacle of the congregation before all the children of Israel. So you had a situation where our people were coming against Moses again. It says here, and the Most High said unto Moses, how long will this people provoke me? And how long will it be ere they believe me? For all the signs which I have shown among them. And it reminded me of something in Isaiah. We can go there, 1 and 3. Because it's true. How long are we going to continue to rebel against the Most High, even with all the signs? Now we say, well, what sign? Yeah, a cloud over us by day and night, and the sea splitting. We seem to forget. It's a sign us even being here in Babylon. If he said we were going to get on slave ships and that happened, just maybe we need to start listening. It's so-called 2019, and we know I say so-called, and still, it's actually getting worse. I was talking to Bishop the other day. I noticed the sensitivity level of people. Remember Christ said the offense of many, at the end, it would be that offense thing. Many shall be offended. It's like you can't even correct people anymore. Even when you got the scriptures right in your hand and you're talking to them scripture for scripture trying to help them, they immediately get shocked and offended. And I'm looking here, I'm like, man, it makes you start thinking to yourself, man, am I saying it wrong? Did I miss something? Now that Bishop, did I say something that was, I'm missing something? And then it's scriptures like this that hit me like, no, it's just the same people. It's just the same people. And they're just getting worse. They're choosing their own ways over his. So I'm going to read this here. Actually, I asked you to read it there if you don't mind. We're going to read down to verse 6. We'll finish with verse 6.
This is Isaiah chapter 1, verse 3. The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib, but Israel doth not know. My people doth not consider. O sinful nation, a people laden with iniquity, a seed of evildoers, children that are corrupters. They have forsaken the Most High. They have provoked the Holy One of Israel into anger. They are gone away backward. Why should ye be stricken any more? Ye will revolt more and more. The whole head is sick, and the whole heart faint. From the sole of the foot even unto the head there is no soundness in it, but wounds, and bruises, and putrefying sores. They have not been closed, neither bound up, neither mollified with ointment.
Right. So, the Most High, in a sense, for one, he's calling us a sinful nation. We look at everyone else and forget that we bugging out. It says here, children that are corrupters, they have forsaken the Most High. They have provoked the Most High of Israel unto anger. They are gone away backwards. This is the real reason why we have so many offenses when you try to bring correction. People won't let go of this sin. Okay? Check it out, though, what he says. He says, why should ye be stricken anymore? That means, how long do I have to whoop on you? What is wrong with you? I got to snap the belt in half just to get you to even listen partially. So he's saying, how long do I have to keep doing this? Right? He said, you will revolt more and more. The more I beat you, you revolting more and more. Right? Now look what it says. It says from the sole of the foot. No, I want to go to this part. The whole head is sick, and the whole heart faint. We are crazy at this point. I mean, is there any place that, if there was a section even worse than the ghetto, we would be there too. It's like how he's like Most High, like, man, I can't. There's no place lower to put him except for hell. I can put him at the bottom of every society on the planet. That's not enough for him, right? It says, from the sole of the foot even unto the head there is no soundness in it, but wounds and bruises and putrefying sores. They have not been closed, neither bound up, neither mollified with ointment. Because why? The whole thing is we're ignoring him, folks. Remember, the scripture tell you there's a balm when it comes to B-A-L-M. Christ is supposed to be that ointment. that return back to the Father that way. But we're ignoring it, just like before, just like in the wilderness. Christ was there the whole time shaking his head. This is crazy. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, man. As a matter of fact, verse 7 even good too. He says, your country is desolate, your cities are burned with fire, your land strangers devoured in your presence, and it is desolate, as overthrown by strangers. The only reason why we fell was because of our own mess. When we look at everyone, oh yeah, they got our riches. They took it out of Solomon's temple. They thieves. But that you gave it to them, basically. We got to stop blaming each other. Blaming others, I should say, and look internally here. The Most High was like, man, how long do I have to keep beating y'all? Right? And he said, how long, you simple ones, will you love simplicity? When you go down to verse 22 here. Let's see here. Let me jump down to 22 real quick. And that's, we're going to go actually, not to the Isaiah here, but let's go to, let's see here. Yeah, here we go. Let's go to, I want to go to 20 on this. Make a point here. Because he gave us life and death here. This is 20. It says, but if you refuse and rebel, ye shall be devoured with the sword. For the mouth of the Most High have spoken it. I mean, this is what happened to us. We were actually, torn apart, and still we're the same. Right? Let's see here. Let's go to Proverbs real quick. Proverbs chapter 1. And go to 22 there. Yeah, read that real quick.
Proverbs chapter 1, verse 22. How long, ye simple ones, will ye love simplicity? And the scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge.
Right. How long will we continue to love acting like a fool? That's what it is. We glory in that. And the Most High is sitting here trying to wake us up and say, look, it's time to get this thing right, because I'm about to tear down. They shall build, but I shall throw down. That's what's about to go down in this earth. All right? So when I was looking at the law, I said, man, he was saying all that back then. The same stuff we're saying today to people. We in that last hour. It's high time to wake out of sleep. Romans 13:11, right? Let's see. Let's go to Hebrews. All right? We're going to start this lesson here. Because some of us, we're allowing ourselves to be kicked. Okay? Instead of standing up and doing the right thing, we're allowing Satan to kick us in the back. So I wanted to go over some things here. And the whole deal is, it's about how many times you get up. I want you to remember that too. Stop letting Satan kick you, and then you just have an excuse to stay down in your taken and destroyed state. All right? It says here, this is the name of the lesson, get up, the fight's not over. Right? And we're going to read the commentary there if you don't believe, if you don't mind, sir. Yeah.
All right. This is,
Go ahead.
Commentary here. Many in the trials they may face get weak and think of just going back to their former life. They eventually may find excuses to justify their actions, but the Father accepts no excuses. We must look to our forefathers and the many things they endured to keep our faith strong in these last days, where temptation and wickedness is at its highest point since the creation of the world.
All right, Hebrews 12, 1 through 8.
This is Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1. Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight, and the sin which doth so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us, looking unto Yeshua, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of the Most High. For consider him that endured such contradiction of sinners against himself, lest ye be weary and faint in your minds. Ye have not yet resisted unto blood, striving against sin. And ye have forgotten the exhortation which speaketh unto you as unto children. My son, despise not thou the chastening of the Most High, nor faint when thou art rebuked of him. For whom the Most High loveth, he chasteneth, and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth. If ye endure chastening, the Most High dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? But if ye be without chastisement, whereof all are partakers, then are ye bastards and not sons.
Right, so there's no easy way through this. You got to go through that sometimes. It's like Christ provides that medicine that way. The word is that is there for that purpose, and we reject the medicine that will clean our act up, that will fix us. Okay, and here it is. We forget he went through a lot worse than us. And mind you, this is a situation. Here's Paul. He was in scenarios where he literally got stoned for doing the work. Right? We get a little pushback because the family upset because we didn't celebrate Christmas or Thanksgiving or something. Well, I can't do this no more. Christ was, he went through stuff, and Paul went through some things too. So he was talking to these people, saying, look, reality check, y'all ain't seen nothing yet. Keep that in mind. You have to keep getting back up because this is nothing. We're actually in the, remember it tells you it's eventually going to be a dry tree. You still able to out to get to the perks and everything. You can go to, I know like a lot of people go to In-N-Out and all them different things or whatever, right? You can still do that right now. So if you're going through it right now, what you think is going to happen when that's all gone? Don't just lay down and roll over and die here. Babylon is not all there is. Keep that in mind. Don't throw in the towel over this ridiculous place. All right? Romans 5, 1 through 6. That's funny because a lot of times when you're talking to people, when you talk about this place ending, according to prophecy, people talk like that's the end of the world. You forget there's stuff after that, according to prophecy. So don't live like this is the end of it all. Think beyond this place. Okay? We should be living like pilgrims on the earth. We're just passing through trying to gain who we can for this work before the next part of the mission. Alright, read that please.
It's Romans chapter 5 verse 1. Therefore being justified by faith, we have peace with the Most High through Yeshua, by whom also we have access by faith into this grace wherein we stand, and rejoice in hope of the glory of the Most High. And not only so, but we glory in tribulations also, knowing that tribulation worketh patience, and patience experience, and experience hope. And hope maketh not ashamed, because the love of the Most High is shed abroad in our hearts by the Holy Spirit, which is given unto us. For when we were yet without strength, in due time, Christ died for the ungodly.
All right, so the whole thing is, it's going to come those times like the apostles. They were celebrating when they were in prison, right? Because they knew they were there for the work of the Most High. They were doing His work. It wasn't that they was trying to start fist fights out there and say, yeah, that's of the devil. There was of the devil out there. That's why I got locked up. I was doing that work. No, they were literally just preaching the gospel of Christ, and our people would have a problem with it, and somehow we would end up in those situations. Okay? Let's go. Let's see 2 Timothy 3, 5 through 12. But look, also while we're getting there, I just want people to understand this part here. Tribulation worketh patience. You go through those things to make you more patient in the future, to strengthen your immune system spiritually, if you will. All right? And it says, patience experience. So now you've been there and done that. You can now tell people how to get through that certain problem. And experience brings hope. That means if you've been there before, you already know how to get through it again. And it gives you hope that you'll be able to overcome certain problems in the future. All right? So it's a process. But if you never go through that process because you're a person that refuses to be patient, there's just, I know, that was too much for me, I'm out of here. You're not going to make it to the part of hope. You're going to give up hope actually in that time. Especially when that mark hits. Have you even noticed that they're starting to promote it on a whole nother level with this smart stuff and all that? In every situation, somehow it goes back to the beast now, the mark of the beast. Even that new thing they were talking about with the rapper and all that. Oh yeah, he owned the smart store. These are not coincidences. They're conditioning you for a time in which you'll need that hope. Okay? Because it's going to be bad. And you're going to have to choose a side. All right? Let's read that.
2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 5. Having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof, from such turn away. For of this sort are they which creep into houses, and lead captive silly women laden with sins, led away with diverse lusts, ever learning and never able to come to the knowledge of the truth.
Let's stop there. That's a whole nother lesson, but we're going to touch on it anyway. All right? He was saying something big here, and this is why we did that announcement earlier. All right? Brothers and sisters, you have to understand that there's people that are struggling with sin on a different level, and their job is just to come in here and learn and get counseling with the elders. Right? You have people that will literally look to scoop these kind of people up. Right? Yeah, that looks like a victim right there. I can go ahead. So that's why we put these things out there. Seek the elders. Don't just do it your own way. Don't lean on your own understanding. We understand, we're in the same world you're from. And we understand how the mind processes go with this stuff. It tells you to treat elders as fathers. It doesn't say call them fathers, but it says to treat them as fathers. Because a father's going to look out for his children. He's going to tell you the truth. If he's a good father. That's what the Most High did for us. Right? So just think about that, because he's warning us that there are, in fact, people that are laden down with sin. Okay? And there's also vultures that will take advantage of that. All right? Pay attention. Let's continue on.
Verse 8. Now as Jannes and Jambres withstood Moses, so do these also resist the truth. Men of corrupt minds, reprobate concerning the faith. But they shall proceed no further, for their folly shall be manifest unto all men, and as theirs also was. But thou hast fully known my doctrine, manner of life, purpose, faith, long-suffering, charity, patience, persecutions, afflictions, which came unto me at Antioch, at Iconium, at Lystra. What persecutions I endured, but out of them all the Most High delivered me. Yea, and all that will live godly in Yeshua shall suffer persecution.
All right, so you're going to suffer, and this will be for a righteous purpose. It's going to happen. That's part of getting your reward in this kingdom. Standing against all adversity. All right? But it's just funny because it says, look, it's like you looking at it in the flesh, like, man, what is in it for me, man? This sounds crazy. Persecutions, afflictions. Hey, remember, this world is not ours. You're dealing with the adversary situation right now. All right? So you have to expect that. But at the end of it, after you deal with that patience and experience that brings forth hope, you'll have a reward. Okay? 1 Timothy 6, 8 through 12. And it says, look, but thou hast fully known my doctrine, manner of life. It's about setting the example. We just gotta keep repeating that. You have to set the example, so that others can draw. Because if everybody's still walking in sin, who do you look to see what that's like not to walk in sin? If everyone's still carnal, who do you look to? The whole world is surrounded by confusion right now. All right, that's why you're like a light on a hill. Let's go. Read that, please.
This is 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 8. And having food and raiment, let us be therewith content. But they that will be rich fall into temptation and a snare, and into many foolish and hurtful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition. For the love of money is the root of all evil, which while some coveted after, they have erred from the faith, and pierced themselves through with many sorrows. But thou, O man of God, flee these things, and follow after righteousness, godliness, faith, love, patience, meekness. Fight the good fight of faith. Lay hold on eternal life, whereunto thou art also called, and has professed a good profession before many witnesses.
All right, so it is a battle. And look, it says, but they that be rich fall into temptation and a snare. Why? Because sometimes the more you have, the easier it is to destroy yourself. Okay? That's a lot of people's problems. They have too much sometimes. Food and raiment, let us be there with content. You just got to thank the Most High for the things you already have. You know? Luke 9:59 through 62. It's funny because I was talking the other day and I'm thinking, it's true. Even these phones we're getting, they were never this expensive. All of a sudden they're $100, but we still got to have them. But then you have people coming up to you talking about, I can't afford a passport. What? You just dropped a thou on that. How in the world, you dropped a G on that, how in the world you don't have money for a passport? Because you're not paying attention to what this scripture says. Keep it simple. The adversary wants us to continually be looking at these things until the very end that make nothing. And at the end of it, it's going to amount to nothing. Okay? We got to stand up in the last days and fight against that spirit too. Because it's destroying us. If anybody needs to watch their pennies, it's Jake. That's just a fact. See how we lose our minds as soon as they say, well, the welfare office closed. Paycheck to paycheck. Let's read that, please.
This is Luke chapter 9, verse 59. And he said unto another, follow me. But he said, Lord, suffer me first to go and bury my father. Yeshua said unto him, let the dead bury their dead, but go thou and preach the kingdom of the Most High. And another also said, Lord, I will follow thee, but let me first go bid them farewell, which are at home at my house. And Yeshua said unto him, no man, having put his hand to the plow and looking back, is fit for the kingdom of the Most High.
All right, so there's no turning back in this. This isn't something you just do for a weekend and then you can go do something else. All right? And that's the deep thing about it. Let the dead bury the dead. There's people that are spiritually dead in this earth. They don't want to hear nothing when it comes to righteousness. Let them handle those other distracting things. You know, it's just what it is. Let them do what they do. If you want life, you got to do this work. Especially your own houses first. Start working on that stuff. Okay? Don't take for granted the time that you have right now before the destruction comes. Before all chaos breaks out. It's our job to focus right now on our immediate situations and branch out from there. Okay? Let's see. Let's go to 2 Thessalonians 1, 3 through 8. It said, no man having put his hand to the plow and looking back is fit for the kingdom of the Most High. That says a lot. Because you can't operate and do this work and then just back off of things. But I'll hit you with this. If you do, Christ will always find, the Most High will always find somebody else to push that plow you don't want to deal with and get that thing going. So don't anyone think they're any more special than anyone else when it comes to that. He can replace you. Alright? Read that, please.
This is 2 Thessalonians chapter 1, verse 3. We are bound to thank the Most High always for you, brethren, as it is meet, because that your faith groweth exceedingly, and the charity of every one of you all toward each other aboundeth, so that we ourselves glory in you in the churches of the Most High for your patience and faith in all your persecutions and tribulations that ye endure, which is a manifest token of the righteous judgment of the Most High, that ye may be counted worthy of the kingdom of the Most High, for which ye also suffered, seeing it is a righteous thing with the Most High to recompense tribulation to them that trouble you, and to you who are troubled rest with us, when Yeshua shall be revealed from heaven with his mighty angels, in flaming fire, taking vengeance on them that know not the Most High, and that obey not the gospel of Yeshua.
All right, Jeremiah 38, 3 through 13. While we're getting it, it says, seeing it is a righteous thing with the Most High to recompense tribulation to them that trouble you. The Most High is on your side as long as you're walking right. That's another thing to, you know, kind of keep in your mind. That key part, if you're walking right. So that at that point, you shouldn't be distracted by people that are against you and so forth. Keep walking in righteousness. Keep your mind clean. Don't worry about what the confusion. Because the Most High will deal with it. He'll reveal all things. A lot of times we let somebody else's spirits jump on us, and then we're no good to the work. We're no good to our families. All right? So we have to change with that, man. We have to keep in mind, as people of faith, that the Most High handles the rest. All right? Let's see. Let's read that.
This is Jeremiah chapter 38, verse 3. Thus saith the Most High, this city shall surely be given into the hand of the king of Babylon's army, which shall take it. Therefore the princes said unto the king, we beseech thee, let this man be put to death. For thus he weakeneth the hands of the men of war that remain in this city, and the hands of all the people, in speaking such words unto them. But this man seeketh not the welfare of this people, but the hurt. Then Zedekiah the king said, behold, he is in your hand, for the king is not he that can do anything against you. Then took they Jeremiah and cast him into the dungeon of Malchiah, the son of Hamelech, that was in the court of the prison. And they let down Jeremiah with cords. And in the dungeon there was no water, but mire. So Jeremiah sunk in the mire. Now when Ebedmelech the Ethiopian, one of the eunuchs which was in the king's house, heard that they had put Jeremiah in the dungeon, the king then sitting in the gate of Benjamin, Ebedmelech went forth out of the king's house, and spake to the king, saying, my lord the king, these men have done evil in all that they have done to Jeremiah the prophet, whom they have cast into the dungeon, and he is like to die for hunger in the place where he is. For there is no more bread in this city. Then the king commanded Abimelech the Ethiopian, saying, take from hence 30 men with thee, and take up Jeremiah the prophet out of the dungeon, before he die. So Abimelech took the men with him, and went into the house of the king under the treasury, and took thence old cast clouts and old rotten rags, and let them down by cords into the dungeon to Jeremiah. And Abimelech the Ethiopian said unto Jeremiah, put now these old cast clouts and rotten rags under thine armholes under the cords. And Jeremiah did so. So they drew up Jeremiah with cords, and took him up out of the dungeon. And Jeremiah remained in the court of the prison.
All right. And this is the thing, like, which one of us had to go through that madness just for the truth? That's what we have to keep in mind. It's not that bad. The Most High was trying the prophets on a whole nother level. We went through a lot of things. To tell you, Isaiah, when he did the research, was sawn in half doing the work. I mean, what is our little squabbles with our relatives? It's nothing. So we have to, again, stay focused, because if this stuff rocks you right now, these little things, when this kind of stuff happens, I don't know how you'll endure. Right? Let's see, Hebrews 11, 32 through 39.
Hebrews chapter 11, verse 32. And what shall I say more? For the time will fail me to tell of Gideon, and of Barak, and of Samson, and of Jephthah, and of David also, and Samuel, and of the prophets, who through faith subdued kingdoms, wrought righteousness, obtained promises, stopped the mouths of lions, quenched the violence of fire, escaped the edge of the sword, out of weakness were made strong, waxed valiant in fight, turned to flight the armies of the aliens. Women received their dead raised to life again, and others were tortured, not accepting deliverance that they might obtain a better resurrection. And others had trial of cruel mockings and scourgings, yea, moreover of bonds and imprisonment. They were stoned, they were sawn asunder, were tempted, were slain with the sword. They wandered about in sheepskins and goatskins, being destitute, afflicted, tormented, of whom the world was not worthy. They wandered in deserts, and in mountains, and in dens and caves of the earth. And these all, having obtained a good report through faith, received not the promise.
All right. And the thing is, they were just hoping for the promise. They went through all that. We're in the time of the promise. How much more should we be on fire for this and be ready to go? Right? I want to go to a scripture real quick. Isaiah 42 and 22. I'm going to read through 24. And I was just look at this too. They were wearing sheepskins and goat skins. You know, you can still get your nice shoes and everything you want. These guys were doing work for real. Sheepskin and goat skin, living in caves. All right, wandering in deserts, and by many they would be people would say they were crazy. What are you doing, wandering in the desert? You all right, brother? And this is the things that were going on just for the work, and they weren't even in the time. Like I said, they were just hoping for the promise. All right, read that, please.
It's Isaiah chapter 42, verse 22. But this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes, and they are hid in prison houses. They are for a prey, and none delivereth, for a spoil, and none saith, restore.
All right, so our people get upset and say, hey man, it seems like we always in the jails and everything. This is a conspiracy against us. But let's see who did it. Read that, please.
Verse 23. Who among you will give ear to this? Who will hearken and hear for the time to come? Who gave Jacob for a spoil, and Israel to the robbers? Did not the Most High, he against whom we have sinned? For they would not walk in his ways, neither were they obedient unto his law.
All right, so we didn't flow like these people we just read about. We did what we wanted to do. Matter of fact, we mocked people like this. And we do it to this day. We're warned of certain things and we take it lightly. Okay? And ultimately, he threw us in prison. That's just one of the things he did to us while we're claiming, hey, it's the white man or it's this guy against us. No, the Most High just said he did it. So the whole thing is we gotta look at these other people, man, because they get a reward at the end of this. And look at our own lives. And be like, man, look, I'd rather deal with this than to be on the other hand of things that Most High dealing with. He said we be the people in prison, and he did it. Right? So just pay attention, read certain scriptures like this. We're saying, look at all these things these people were doing. And not to mention, you had sisters even on the level. You got the women received their dead raised to life again. I mean, these are crazy things that were going on. So this is the purpose of these scriptures, to focus so we can see the dynamics. We can see the right here and then the wrong here and choose a side here. Because the Most High is not begging us in a nice way. When he pleads, we end up in prison. When he pleads, we end up shot in the streets with no one caring about who did it or whatever. All right? So keep that in mind. Keep these other things in your memory for motivation. Understanding that, look, there is more you can do with your life. All right? Second Maccabees 6 and 11 through 16. Second Maccabees. I think I jumped on, huh? That was it, right? Yeah, that was it. That's it. Oh, okay. Second Matthews. That's the issue.
All right, this is 2 Maccabees chapter 6, verse 11. And others that had run together into caves nearby to keep the Sabbath day secretly, being discovered to Philip, were all burnt together, because they made a conscious to help themselves for the honor of the most sacred day. Now I beseech those that read this book, that they be not discouraged for these calamities, but that they judge those punishments not to be for destruction, but for a chastening of our nation. For it is a token of his great goodness, when wicked doers are not suffered any long time, but forthwith punished. For not as with other nations whom the Most High patiently forbeareth to punish, till they become to the fullness of their sins, so dealeth he with us, lest that being come to the height of sin, afterwards he should take vengeance of us. And therefore he never withdraweth his mercy from us. And though he punish with adversities, yet doeth he never forsake his people.
All right, so we got to realize, regardless of the adversity, he didn't forsake us. He put us through this so that we would get the point and change. All right? That's how, but it tell you, if it had to be this extreme, that shows you how extreme we were. And still are. I mean, we went through a lot. Let's see, it says here, it says they were all burnt together because they made a conscience to help themselves for the honor of the most sacred day. When you go into this history, you find out that they were well aware, when it was the Greek Empire, they were well aware if we broke our laws, they would be able to overrun us. So, of course, when they got on top, they taught a doctrine of, guess what? The law is done away with. So we had to actually hide in caves just to keep the Sabbath day. Yet, here it is nowadays, you got to almost beg people to come to church sometime. Like, convince, like, do you know we actually died doing that before? Okay, James 5, 7 through 11. Hey, man, it's all about priorities, brothers and sisters. That's all. We got to get it together. Because when you really examine these kind of scriptures, like, man, and I'm saying I got a problem because, you know, whatever it is, whatever your excuse is, just compare it to these people that were dying in caves trying to keep that day. We have lost our way. Even with the pork thing, people were going to their death just because they were trying. The Persians, for example, there was situations with the Greeks too, but you had these situations where people were being forced to deal with pork and all that. Now you can't keep us away from it. Right? Well, we're fine, but you know what I mean. A lot of us aren't. Read that, please.
This is James chapter 5, verse 7. Be patient, therefore, brethren, unto the coming of the Lord. Behold, the husbandman waited for the precious fruit of the earth, and hath long patience for it, until he receive the early and latter rain. Be ye also patient, establish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord draweth nigh. Grudge not one against another, brother, lest ye be condemned. Behold, the judge standeth before the door. Take, my brethren, the prophets, who have spoken in the name of Yeshua, for an example of suffering, affliction, and of patience. Behold, we count them happy which endure. Ye have heard of the patience of Job, and have seen the end of the Lord, that the Lord is very pitiful and of tender mercy.
All right, so he will have mercy on you if you change. He'll deal with you. You just got to stop the confusion. And it says, grudge not one against another. We got to learn to get along, for crying out loud. This, I can say it 1,000 times, this about somebody doing it. I mean, it's crazy, man. We have the most ridiculous beefs. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's out of there. And look what it said. It said, be ye also patient, establish your hearts. That means get your minds rooted in this. All right? Stop being all over the place. For the coming of the Most High, or the Shire, it draweth now, in this case. Yeah, he's going to come down on this earth pretty soon. Okay? So get your minds together. Stop playing around. Let's go to here, though. It mentions the patience of Job here. And, you know, again, the scriptures are written for our learning. If Job went through all that, what makes you think that you're not going to go through nothing? That's just what it is. And especially if you go to try to follow the truth. Right? Testament of Job here. This is 5, 1 through 9. And we went through this before. I know that some of you may be new. But this is a record that was left of the situation which Job had going on. Verse 1. It says, and when Satan saw that he could riot, put me to despair, he went and asked my body of the Most High in order to inflict plague on me. That's what you read in the book of Job. For the evil one could not bear my patience. Then the Most High delivered me into his hands to use my body as he wanted, but he gave him no power over my soul. And he came to me as I was sitting on my throne, still mourning over my children. And he resembled a great hurricane, and turned over my throne and threw me up upon the ground. That's another thing. It tell you also in certain writings, you have to understand some of these what you would call dust devils, are spirits. That's why they call them dust devils. Okay? That's why they do certain weird stuff. I don't know if y'all saw that one that was on the baseball field and it was like picking a little kid up. And it was like doing this weird thing and people trying to figure out where to run. And it wasn't a tornado, it was a smaller type of thing. They have some that are made of fire. You've seen those too, I'm sure, some of them. All right? Let's go back. Let's see here. It says, and I continued lying on the floor for 3 hours, and he smote me with a hard blade from the top of my head to the toes of my feet. And I left the city in great terror and woe, and sat down upon a dunghill, my body being worm-eaten. And I wet the earth with the moistness of my sore body, for matter flowed off my body. Now remember, even the scriptures, when we would curse, it was talking about putrefying sores, right? And many worms covered it. And when a single worm crept off my body, I put it back, saying, remain on the spot where you have been placed until he who has sent you will order you elsewhere. In this way I endured for several years, sitting on a dunghill outside of the city while being plague-stricken. So this wasn't a few months of Job going through something. It was years. All right. So it was years he was going through this. But the point is, I mean, you would think this guy was definitely crazy. He's sitting there putting the bugs back on him, the maggots or whatever back on him. Saying, I must suffer for real. I'm not, if this is what the Most High's will is right now, I'm going to go through it. All right? 2nd Ezra 13, 15 through 24. And again, man, we got to hear these things. We got to keep this in our minds. Like, is it really that bad? Is it really as bad as we make it? Okay, 2nd Ezra, we're now give you some previews, I can remember that, of what we're going to be reading. But here, you got that?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
This is 2nd Ezra chapter 13, verse 15. Show me now yet the interpretation of this dream. For as I conceive in mine understanding, woe unto them that shall be left in those days, and much more woe unto them that are not left behind. For they that are not left behind, they that were not left were in heaviness. Now understand I the things that are laid up in the latter days, which shall happen unto them, and to those that are left behind. Therefore are they come into great perils and many necessities, like as these dreams declare. Yet is it easier for him that is in danger to come into these things than to pass away as a cloud out of the world, and not to see the things that happen in the last days. And he answered unto me, and said, the interpretation of this vision shall I show thee, and I will open unto thee the thing that thou hast required, whereas thou hast spoken of them that are left behind. This is the interpretation. He that shall endure the peril of in that time had kept himself, that they be fallen into danger, are such as have works, and have faith, and faith toward the Almighty. Know this therefore, that they which be left behind are more blessed than they that be dead.
All right. So as you see, the adversary has to do everything the exact opposite. He puts an agenda and says, guess what? Guess. Hello? Okay.
That one's fresh, Yes, this one out, yes.
All right. There was, they pushed, I think it's the signal. It says, okay. Hello? All right, so left behind. They actually pushed an agenda which was the exact opposite, right? So they're telling you, look, you don't want to be the one left behind. You want to be the one that zaps up out of here. All right? They put, I mean, how many CDs and books and everything else did they sell pushing that? Even though the Bible says, look, that person that was left behind and made it through all that was better off than those that actually are not. That's why Christ said, when it comes to that field or one's taken and one's left, the left was actually a good thing. They said it the exact opposite. It just happened to name the movie and the book series Left Behind, right? So it tells me something's wrong. They knew something they weren't telling people. Let's go to Sirach 6:22 through 33. And while we're getting it, it's just that, look, he that shall endure the peril in that time have kept himself. That meant you was doing something right. You decided to be different here. They that be fallen into danger as such as have works and faith towards the Almighty. They believed wholeheartedly in the Almighty. That's who's going to make it through this. All right? Okay. Faith without work. Hello? All right. Sirach 6:22 through 33. I think it's a signal problem. Wi-Fi. All right. All right. Okay. 6:22 through 33.
This is Sirach chapter 6, verse 22. For wisdom is according to her name, and she is not manifest unto many. Give ear, my son, receive my advice, and refuse not my counsel. And put thy feet into her fetters, and thy neck into her chain. Bow down thy shoulder, and bear her, and be not grieved with her bonds. Come unto her with thy whole heart, and keep her ways with all thy power. Search and seek, and she shall be made known unto thee. And when thou hast got hold of her, let her not go.
Don't get rid of that plow now. Once you start it, you got to push that plow off. You got to get it going forward. Don't let go of that wisdom. Read that.
Verse 28. For at the last thou shalt find her rest, and that shall be turned to thy joy. Then shall her fetters be a strong defense for thee, and her chains a robe of glory. For there is a golden ornament upon her, and her bands are purple lace. Thou shalt put her on as a robe of honor, and shalt put her about thee as a crown of joy. My son, if thou wilt, thou shalt be taught, and if thou wilt apply thy mind, thou shalt be prudent. If thou love to hear, thou shalt receive understanding, and if thou bow thine ear, thou shalt be wise.
All right, so that's a key part. Learn to listen more. All right? If you, look, it says, if you love to hear, thou shalt receive understanding. And if thou bow thine ear, thou shalt be wise. That's a big problem today. You provide, all kinds of information, thus saith the Most High, and the person's they're really just wanting to answer back to you. So they don't even absorb or process what you just read. But it says here, if thou bow thine ear, thou shalt be wise. I mean, get a little, do like this. Make sure you're listening. That's what it's telling you here. Okay? Proverbs 24:10. And then it also says 27 here while we're getting that. Search and seek, and she shall be made known unto thee. We're talking about wisdom. And when thou hast got hold of her, let her not go. So you got to be diligent. This is not philosophizing here. Deal with what the Most High says over your emotions and really pay attention to these scriptures. Okay? And it'll help you. All right, Proverbs 24:10.
Proverbs chapter 24, verse 10. If thou faint in the day of adversity, thy strength is small.
All right. Hey, the Bible's real with you. If every time something adverse comes, you acting a fool and bugging out and you can't handle it, you're not very strong. All right? Even though that used to be the thing, we would actually do that and say we were strong people for that. We would respond acting a fool and call that strength. No, that adversity was there to make you better spiritually, so that you can now be on another level, even when it comes to helping other people. Okay? Let's go to Hebrews 13:3. Because here's the other side of things. Because you're going to have people that they just ain't there yet. All right? All right, read that, please.
This is Hebrews chapter 13, verse 3. Remember them that are in bonds, as bound with them, and them which suffer adversity, as being yourselves also in the body.
All right, so that's the other side of things. There's going to be people that are weak. All right? And you go to it's not about being better than somebody, but you go to somebody understanding, look, I have a body too here. I understand how this world is. I'm here to help you. I understand I'm with you. I get it. All right? Sirach 2, 1 through 8. But that's a two-way street too. I'm going to say that. Because if I'm telling you I'm with you, you got to be real. A lot of people don't want to be real about what they're struggling with. So that ends up being a problem in itself, because those demons win as long as they're not identified. When Christ was casting out demons, he's asking, what is your name, demon? So that he could properly diagnose. That's how it works. Same thing with doctors. What do? They what's the symptoms here? What's going on here? Now they practicing, so they just kicking around all kinds of stuff. Oh, I'll tell you what, take these 5 pills and call me in the morning if you wake up. That's doctors. I'm talking about the real physician though. Okay. Sirach 2, 1 through 8.
Sirach chapter 2, verse 1. My son, if thou come to serve the Most High, prepare thy soul for temptation. Set thy heart aright, and constantly endure, and make not haste in time of trouble. Cleave unto him, and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end. Whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed to a low estate. For gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. Believe in him, and he will help thee. Order thy way aright, and trust in him. Ye that fear the Most High, wait for his mercy, and go not aside, lest ye fall. Ye that fear the Most High, believe him, and your reward shall not fail.
All right. And it said, whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed to a lower state. You got to be able to be in the worst of situations and in the best of situations and still praise the Most High. You can't just be praising the Most High when you got everything, when everything's going right. It tells you even the scriptures, and we read it before, sometimes it'll be a time where the Most High just leave you alone for a moment to see how you're going to react. Even in those moments, you must continue to do the work. It doesn't stop. People say, well, I don't feel the Spirit no more. What you mean feel the Spirit? The Most High said do some work. There's nothing to feel here. He said keep your hand to the plow. That's philosophy. You waiting for a feeling. You think that every time these brothers was out there, they getting hit with stones and stuff, it felt good to them? I'm pretty sure it didn't. So keep things in the proper perspective. It's about continuing to work to the end, period. Ups and downs. I don't care if you're in a one-room shack or you're in a mansion. If you're not serving the Most High with your operations, you're wasting your time. Paul used to go through all kinds of things, ups and downs. There was no, I can just stop the day, hey, pray to Christ, hey, I can take a year off, right? It didn't work like that. Okay? Sirach 11, 12 through 15. And why? Check this out too, brothers. It says, for gold is tried in the fire in 2 and 5, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. It's about trying to making you that honorable vessel that he needs. Even that prison time you may see for doing the work one day in the future, because they tell you many is going to go through that. It happened before, it's going to happen again. It's there to toughen you up a bit, so that your faith doesn't waver when these wicked, especially amongst our people, like what happened with Aaron, where all of a sudden they threatening his life and everything, so that it don't mean nothing to you. Look, I fear he who can kill both body and soul in hell. That's what your mind will become going through these different things. All right? Let's read that.
Sirach chapter 11, verse 12. Again, there is another that is slow and hath need of help, wanting ability, and full of poverty. Yet the eye of the Most High looked upon him for good, and set him up from his low estate. and lifted up his head from misery, so that many that saw it marveled at him. Prosperity and adversity, life and death, poverty and riches come of the Most High. Wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the law are of the Most High. Love and the way of good works are from him.
All right. And he put us under that curse, right? That's what you have to remember too. Like, look, whatever's going down, ups or downs, you know, so that's why sometimes we step back a little bit when we start seeing something crazy going on with people. We counsel them and all, but it's like, man, this might be the Most High trying to work something here. Because they still ain't learning. We was literally asking, we showing them the scriptures what they need to do, they still ain't doing it. So this might be the Most High working right here. It said prosperity and adversity, life and death, poverty and riches come of the Most High. Because ultimately, regardless of what demons may take over, the Most High is the one allowing it. And guess what? Who earned them? That's the part we don't like to face. We will earn them, okay, through continuing to do stuff we have no business, and sit here and then start blaming the Most High. We didn't blame Satan. That's been helping us to think a certain way. We blame the Most High first. You know, he just leaving you to your own devices. That's what he means when he says the adversity. He leaving you to your own mess. You go down certain paths, you got to expect certain things at the end of it. All right? Ecclesiastes 7 and 8. And we always used to say this scripture from the Bible. We would say it in the reference. We would say in Galatians 6 and 7, you know, we just say you reap what you sow. Right? That's what the Most High is trying to get us to understand. All right, read that, please.
Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 8. Better is the end of a thing than the beginning thereof, and the patient in spirit is better than the proud in spirit.
All right, the patient in spirit is better than the proud in spirit. The proud in spirit only for a moment anyway. That's what you have to realize too. It's about being patient, going through those ups and downs. All right, Ecclesiastes 7 and 14. And jump down a little bit there.
Verse 14. In the day of prosperity be joyful, but in the day of adversity consider. The Most High also has set the one over against the other, to the end that man should find nothing after him.
Right. So the whole deal is he's going to put you through the ups and the downs, so that you learn a lesson or two. All right? That's what it is. He said, but in the days of adversity, consider. Start thinking, man, there could be something to this. What's up with that? Maybe Most High has a lesson for me to get out of this. All right? 2 Timothy 2, 1 through 5. Last scripture here. Second Timothy 2, 1 through 5. All right, you got that?
Yes, sir. This is 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 1. Thou therefore, my son, be strong in the grace that is in Yeshua, and the things that thou hast heard of me among many witnesses, the same commit thou to faithful men, who shall be able to teach others also. Thou therefore endure hardness as a good soldier of Yeshua. No man that warreth entangleth himself with the affairs of this life, that he may please him who hath chosen him to be a soldier. And if a man also strive for masteries, yet is he not crowned, except he strive lawfully.
All right. And it's deep because it said, the same commit thou to faithful men, who shall be able to teach others also. Because why? It's about we had to go through the same things too. All right? And still stuck it out. Still stuck it out. You think people didn't have difference between people over the years? Like your thing is so unique? No, but the Most High said you have to endure hardness. You got to go through it like that soldier. Soldiers, he's banging out push-ups, he's running miles, pull-ups, whatever's necessary, self-defense, all this stuff. And it's like, that's every day of his life. Also that when war go down, he don't even have to think about what to do in a battle. It's second nature. Just like a fighter. Your reflexes just kick in. So that's why he's taking you through this. So keep that in mind. Don't faint at these adversities you go through. Become better. All right? It says, no man that warreth entangle himself with the affairs of this life. You can't, look, when you go to war, what's the one thing they do for you before you go? They separate you from the world for a time. Right? That's what it is. You must separate yourself from the war, from the world, and focus here. All right? And in that, you will have that result. You'll have that thing where you're ready now. You're ready for the adversary and all this foolishness. All right? So with that being said, we're going to wrap it up there. Again, let's keep getting back up. Let's stay on that canvas and after that knockout. Wake up. All right? So that being said, let's go to our Q&A here. Okay, we're going to go through our Q&A. Huh? Yeah, you can get them there.
Yeah, you can stop.
Yeah. All right. Let's see if they got any questions there too.
Okay, yeah. Watch.